She left for my brother. But returned broke and betrayed. He humiliated me in front of everyone and laughed like it was a joke. What he didn't know? I was 2 seconds away from proposing. My girlfriend of 6 years left me, not for a stranger, but for my younger brother. In a crowded bar, while holding hands with him. After everything we'd built, after everything I'd sacrificed, she looked me in the eyes and said, I watched her laugh. Not the kind of laugh you share over a glass of wine or a funny meme. No, it was mean, cold. The kind of laugh someone lets out when they know they've crushed you. I wasted 6 years on you, she said, tossing her hair over her shoulder like I was something she needed to shake off. A real man would have married me by now. That line? It landed like a punch to the throat. 6 years. 6 birthdays. 6 Christmases. 6 years of grocery runs, late-night calls, shared secrets, and stupid arguments about what to watch on Netflix. 6 years of thinking we were building something. I stared at her, still gripping the velvet ring box in my jacket pocket. She had no idea I was going to propose tonight. Instead, she dumped me at a bar, in front of my coworkers, right after clinking glasses with my younger brother, who she'd clearly been texting behind my back for weeks. She leaned in close, too close, and whispered with a smirk. By the way, he's better than you, in every way. My brother chuckled. That smug, arrogant laugh that made every hair on my arm stand up. He clapped me on the back like we were in on some shared joke. Come on, man. Don't take it personally. You had your shot. They walked out together, her hand in his back pocket like it belonged there. And me? I sat there, frozen, holding on to a ring that meant nothing now. Heart pounding so loud I couldn't hear the bartender ask if I needed another drink. I didn't respond. I just stood up, walked out, and vanished into the night. Nobody saw what I did next. But they'd never forget what happened 2 weeks later. Because she came back, betrayed, homeless, and begging like a dog at my doorstep. But let's rewind. Let me show you how we got here. Because this wasn't just a breakup. This was a war. And I didn't just lose a girlfriend. I lost the illusion I'd been living in. For years, I thought I was the problem. Too quiet. Too boring. Too nice. She said I lacked ambition. That I didn't push myself enough. That I should learn something from my brother, Kyle. Kyle, the golden boy. Kyle, the fitness influencer with 100K followers and a fake motivational podcast. Kyle, who couldn't hold down a job longer than 6 months but always managed to land on his feet, usually in someone else's bed. Kyle, who had my parents eating out of the palm of his hand. I didn't know it back then, but Kyle had been worming his way into her life for months. Little compliments. Late-night venting sessions. Gym invites. Innocent things until they weren't. Looking back, I missed all the signs. The half-answered texts. The sudden business trips that didn't add up. The new gym outfits that he bought her. The way she laughed at his jokes but rolled her eyes at mine. Still, I loved her. God, I loved her like a fool. And when she called me comfortable, I took it as a compliment. It wasn't. 2 weeks before the breakup, I had dinner with her parents. Her mom smiled at me. Her dad gave me his blessing. They had no idea their daughter was already planning her exit. Meanwhile, I was designing a proposal. A quiet weekend trip. Rented cabin. Snow. Fireplace. A cheesy, "Will you marry me?" etched in the frost on the cabin window. I even practiced the speech. In the mirror. Like a loser. You make me better. You make me brave. I laughed bitterly the last time I said it out loud. Because bravery isn't proposing to someone who doesn't love you. Bravery is what comes after you've been humiliated in front of everyone you know. Bravery is staring at your broken life and saying, "Not like this." Bravery is walking away and planning your silence like a loaded gun. 2 days after the breakup, I didn't cry. I didn't eat either. I stayed in my apartment, lights off, staring at the spot where the ring box sat untouched on my dresser. Friends texted. My mom called. Kyle posted some cryptic, good vibes only story on Instagram with her in the background, half naked, eating strawberries. I said nothing. I posted nothing. I just waited. Because they thought I'd spiral. They thought I'd beg. They thought I'd crawl. But they forgot something about me. I don't scream when I'm angry. I plan. And 2 weeks was all I needed to change everything. I didn't block her. I wanted her to see it. Every change I made. Every update. Every piece of my life without her in it. Because silence? Silence makes people panic. She expected a meltdown. Late-night texts. Drunk voicemails. Maybe a dramatic Instagram post with some sad quote about heartbreak and healing. Instead, nothing. She posted gym selfies with Kyle. I posted job offers I started turning down. She posted stories from brunch. I posted a picture with my boss, announcing my promotion. She unfollowed me a week later. Kyle didn't. Of course he didn't. Because Kyle always needed to know what I was doing. He didn't just take my girl. He needed my validation, too. You know what's wild? They didn't last. Not even 3 weeks. I didn't have to lift a finger. Because the truth? Kyle wasn't built for monogamy. He wasn't built for loyalty. He was built for attention. And when the high of stealing my girlfriend wore off, he got bored. She thought he'd be her upgrade. Her real man. Her prize. But Kyle doesn't do real. Kyle does temporary. I heard what happened from someone I didn't expect, my ex's sister. She showed up at my building with a Tupperware of cookies and a look that said, "I know everything." "She's not okay," she said, barely making eye contact. "She made a mistake." I didn't respond. She said, "Kyle changed after you disappeared. He got cruel." That made me laugh. Changed? No. That was Kyle. Without an audience to pretend for, Kyle turned into exactly who he's always been. Manipulative. Jealous. Mean. He started accusing her of cheating. Called her boring. Said he only did it to prove he could. My ex finally broke down and tried to come back home. To me. To the man she called comfortable. It was a Tuesday. Rainy. The kind of night where the world feels too quiet and every sound echoes harder than it should. Doorbell rang. I knew before I opened it. There she was. Soaked. Mascara running. Holding the same jacket she once yelled at me for never washing. "Can we talk?" she asked. I let her stand there in the rain for a second too long. Just enough to make her nervous. Then I opened the door. She stepped inside like a ghost. "I'm sorry," she said immediately, voice cracking. "I didn't mean." I held up my hand. No explanations. She blinked. Kyle, he's not who I thought." "That makes 2 of us." Silence. For a second, I swear she almost cried. "I made a mistake," she whispered. I nodded slowly, then asked the only question that mattered. "Why him?" Her lips trembled. "Because he made me feel wanted," she said, barely above a whisper. "Exciting. Like I mattered." I nodded again, then leaned in just enough to make her think there was hope, and said, "You never needed Kyle to feel like you mattered. You just needed someone to reflect your chaos." Her face crumpled. She opened her mouth to say something, anything, but I walked past her. "I'll grab a towel." I didn't comfort her. I didn't offer tea, or food, or forgiveness. I gave her the couch, a blanket, nothing more. And that night, as I lay in bed, I realized something chilling. She didn't come back because she missed me. She came back because she missed what I did for her. The safety, the stability, the version of herself she got to pretend to be when I was around. But that version? She destroyed her. And I wasn't going to rebuild her again. The next morning, she was gone. Left a note on my kitchen counter. "I understand. I'll stop bothering you now." She thought that was the end. She had no idea. Kyle wasn't done yet. Because when narcissists get rejected, they don't get sad. They get dangerous. And Kyle? He was just getting started. It started small. A rumor here. A weird glance there. Coworkers acting different. Then I got called into HR. "Hey, can we talk privately?" My stomach dropped. Not because I was scared. Because I knew. Kyle had finally made his move. I sat down across from our HR rep, nice guy, Steve. We'd grabbed coffee before. Talked about football. Today? He couldn't even look me in the eye. "So, He cleared his throat. "We've received a concern. From a third party." I didn't flinch. "Go on." He looked uncomfortable. Fidgety. "It's anonymous." But screenshots were sent. Messages. Allegations. There it was. "Sexual harassment," he said quickly, as if saying it faster would make it less disgusting. My heart should have stopped, but it didn't. Because I knew. I knew Kyle would eventually try this. He had one move when his ego got bruised. Destroy whatever makes you look better than him. And for the first time in his life, I was shining. Without him. Without drama. Without begging for validation. So he fabricated his own. The screenshots were fake. Poorly done, honestly. Wrong font. Wrong timestamps. Messages I'd never sent to a woman I barely knew at the office. But it didn't matter. Because in this world, allegation equals guilt. Even if it's made from digital duct tape and desperation. Steve leaned forward. "We're not making judgments. We're just following protocol." I nodded calmly. May I see them? He hesitated. I didn't. I pulled out my phone and unlocked it. Here, I said. Every chat, every DM, every email. Take your time. 2 hours later, my name was cleared. But the damage? Already done. People whispered. Eyes lingered longer than they should have. One coworker even asked me, "Are you okay?" In that condescending voice people use when they've already decided you're guilty. Kyle wasn't trying to get me fired. He was trying to break my reputation. Death by 1,000 whispers. So I called him. Not to fight. To thank him. He answered on the third ring, smug as ever. "Did you like my little gift?" he asked. "You really think you're clever, huh?" He laughed. "You're too clean. Too perfect. People like that don't last. Sooner or later, the world wants dirt. And when they couldn't find any, you made some." He didn't deny it. That's what stunned me the most. He wanted me to know. "I warned you not to embarrass me," he said. That was it. That was the whole thing. Me walking away. Me not reacting. Me not caring. That's what made him snap. Kyle couldn't stand being irrelevant. But here's what he didn't know. While he was busy faking screenshots, I was collecting real ones. Receipts. From girls he'd messaged. From guys he owed money to. From coworkers who knew the truth behind his podcast sponsors and brand deals. I had screenshots. Voice notes. Emails. A full Google Drive folder. Labeled. Kyle/break in case of stupidity. And buddy, you just broke the glass. I didn't go public. Not yet. Because exposing someone isn't just about what you reveal. It's about when. And Kyle? He was about to hit his peak. His biggest brand deal yet. A live stream announcement with a fitness app. He invited influencers. Art photographers. Even got our parents to show up and support. He thought it would be his moment. He didn't know I'd be there, too. And I brought the truth with me. The event was ridiculous. LED walls. Brand banners. Protein shake stations with custom names like Beast Fuel and Alpha Berry. Kyle stood center stage in a fitted black polo, smiling like a politician at a campaign rally. The live stream had already pulled 30,000 live viewers. And in the chat, thousands more hyping him up. King energy. Let's go. Finally a real coach. My parents were in the front row. Mom crying like it was graduation. Dad nodding like he built Kyle himself. And me? I stood in the back. Invisible. Just like they always wanted. Until I clicked. Upload. See, I didn't interrupt his moment. I enhanced it. Right as he held up the mic for his closing speech. Right as he said, "I built this from nothing." The screens behind him glitched. Just once. Most people missed it. Kyle didn't. He turned slightly. Smiled through it. Then they glitched again. Harder. Longer. And then boom. Video file playing. Not from the event. Not from the brand. From me. First clip. Kyle bragging in a private message about buying fake followers. "I just need numbers to look good. Real engagement is for broke people." Then a voice note. Kyle mocking his own fans. "These gym rats would buy my bathwater if I slapped a protein label on it." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Whispers. Confused glances. He stammered. I don't know what this is. Another clip. A DM to a girl half his age. Graphic. Unhinged. Accompanied by her timestamped screen recording proving it came from his verified account. The room went silent. Even the live stream chat exploded. WTF is this? Is this real? Unsubbed. He's done. Kyle dropped the mic. Literally. Tried to signal someone. Probably his intern. Too late. I had timed it perfectly. 2 more clips. Him mocking the very brand he was promoting. A leaked call where he threatened a smaller influencer for copying his content. Security started moving toward the stage. The live stream was still rolling. Kyle shouted, "This is fake. This is all fabricated." But then came the final blow. A video of him, on the phone, laughing. My brother? He's pathetic. Still living like a nobody. I'm just making sure he stays beneath me. And that was it. The sponsors pulled out mid-event. One of them even commented on the live stream. "This is not the behavior we endorse. We are terminating all affiliations effective immediately." 30,000 people watched a man dissolve in real time. I left before security found me. Didn't need applause. Didn't need recognition. I just needed him to feel what he made me feel. Powerless. But here's the wildest part. That wasn't even the end. Because 2 days later, I got a call from someone I never expected. And what they told me, it changed everything I thought I knew. About Kyle. About my ex. About my entire family. 2 days after the live stream exploded, my phone rang. Unknown number. I don't answer those. But something in my gut told me to pick up. Hello. A pause. Then a voice I hadn't heard in years. It's Madison. I blinked. Kyle's ex. The one before mine. The one who disappeared right after they broke up. The one everyone said went a little crazy. Can we talk? She asked. She sounded scared. Tired. Like someone who'd been holding her breath for years. I said yes. She asked to meet in a public place. Red flag? Maybe. But I went. We sat outside a small coffee shop 2 cities away. Neutral ground. She looked older. Not in a bad way, just weathered. Eyes that had seen too much. She didn't waste time. You think Kyle just started being like this? She asked, staring into her coffee. I stayed quiet. She laughed bitterly. Of course you do. That's how good he is. You only see the mask when it slips. I asked her what she meant. And that's when the Real story started. Kyle's game? It wasn't new. He'd done the same thing to her. The love bombing. The gaslighting. The triangulation with other girls. The slow, constant erosion of confidence. But the worst part? He didn't do it alone. He had help. From who? I asked. Madison looked me dead in the eyes. Your mom. Silence. My skin went cold. What are you talking about? She nodded slowly. Calmly. Like she'd waited years for someone to ask. She used to call me. After fights with Kyle. To coach me. Tell me how to be better for him. How I was the reason he pulled away. How I needed to stop being so emotional. I stared at her, stunned. No. No way. She pulled out her phone. Scrolled. Showed me a saved contact. Kyle's mom. With text logs. And voicemails. Dozens. Sweetheart, you have to understand Kyle. He needs space. He's under pressure. Don't push him. He'll come back when he's ready. You're lucky he chose you. Don't ruin it. I felt like vomiting. Because I recognized the tone. I'd heard those same lines growing up. Whenever Kyle messed up. Whenever he stole. Lied. Cheated. It was always someone else's fault. Mine. The teachers. The neighbors. His girlfriends. Never his. Because Kyle wasn't just created by ego. He was protected by it. My mom wasn't just blind. She was complicit. She'd been enabling his destruction since we were kids. And I never saw it. Because she used the same tactic on me. But inverted. Instead of praising me, she shrunk me. Why can't you be more like Kyle? He's a go-getter. A leader. You think too much. Just do something. And I believed her. For years, I believed I was the problem. But Madison's story cracked something in me. Because if she was telling the truth. Then my mom wasn't just passive in Kyle's chaos. She was a founding member of it. I left that coffee shop dazed. Head spinning. Mind racing. I wanted to scream. Punch something. Confront someone. But I didn't. Because I knew what I had to do. I had to go back. Back to the house I swore I'd never step into again. Not for revenge. For truth. I stood outside my parents' house for 5 full minutes. Didn't knock. Didn't move. Just stared at the door. I'd been here hundreds of times. But that day, it felt like walking into someone else's life. Finally, I raised my hand. 3 knocks. Mom answered. Same apron. Same fake smile. Like I was here for Sunday dinner. Oh, honey, she said, voice syrupy. You should have told me you were coming. I didn't step inside. Just looked her in the eyes and asked. How long have you been covering for him? Her face twitched. Just a flicker. But I saw it. The truth was already there. She sighed. Let's not do this here. Why not? She glanced behind her, like checking if anyone could hear. Then stepped aside. I walked in. Dad was in the kitchen, pretending to read a newspaper like it was 1995. He didn't look up. I sat. They both stayed standing. I repeated myself. How long? No one spoke. So I kept going. I know about Madison. About the calls. The coaching. The pressure. Mom closed her eyes like she was praying. I wasn't finished. You told her she was lucky to be with him. Even when he cheated. Even when he screamed at her. Still silence. I leaned back. You did the same thing to me. Dad finally looked up. Don't twist this. We were trying to hold the family together. That line? It almost made me laugh. By gaslighting anyone Kyle touched? Mom folded her arms. You don't understand what it's like to raise 2 boys so different. That hit me. Harder than I expected. Because I'd always been the quiet one. The manageable one. The easy child. And they took that as permission to ignore me. I wasn't the problem because I was easier, right? I asked, voice low. So Kyle got all the attention, even when it was destructive. Mom looked at Dad. He nodded once. The kind of nod that said, we always knew this conversation would come someday. Then she said it. Something I'll never forget. We didn't think you needed us. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't loud. It was worse. It was true. Because my whole life, I made things work on my own. And instead of being proud, they just stepped back. Kyle crashed through life like a wrecking ball, and they followed him with glue and excuses. I tiptoed, stayed out of the way, succeeded quietly. And they mistook that for strength. When really, I was just surviving. I stood up. They both watched me like I was about to deliver some final judgment. But I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. So I just said this. You didn't protect me from Kyle. You protected Kyle from me. Then I left. No slamming doors. No threats. No speeches. Just silence. Again. But this time, it was mine. The next day, I got a text from my mom. We did what we thought was right. I hope one day you understand. I didn't respond. Because for the first time ever, I wasn't looking for their approval. I wasn't trying to be seen. I saw myself. And that was enough. But just when I thought things couldn't go deeper, I found something. Something Kyle never meant for me to see. Buried in the digital trash of an old shared Google Drive we'd both forgotten about. An accidental confession. And it changed the way I looked at everything that happened. Even the betrayal. Even her. It started with a random notification. Google Drive storage almost full. Weird. I hadn't used that account in years. Old college email Kyle and I used to share for side projects. Back when we thought we'd build an app together. Before everything got messy. I was about to delete it. One click. Gone. But something, instinct maybe, made me check. Inside? Dozens of folders. Photos. Code snippets. PDFs. And one folder buried near the bottom. Project Ascend. It wasn't mine. I clicked. The first file was a mind map. Dead center in bold font. Rebrand Kyle as Alpha. Arrows. Subnotes. Bullet points. Like a business plan. Some lines were underlined. Leverage fitness space. Target insecure male demo. Create conflict for virality. Safe villain arc. Use relationship drama for emotional engagement. I scrolled further. Notes about me. By name. Contrast soft, older brother for narrative tension. Position Kyle as the ambitious one by diminishing him. Use family to reinforce dynamic. Mom equals loyalty base. My mouth went dry. They'd build a storyline. Around me. Not just for fun. For content. For growth. For Kyle's personal brand. Another file. A spreadsheet of potential drama triggers. One entry. Breakup. Fake betrayal narrative, her leaves him for Kyle. Status. In progress. Benefits. Massive engagement. Perceived dominance. Platform boost. I had to read it 3 times. Wait. The breakup was planned? Not just the cheating. The timing. The method. The F*King restaurant scene? That wasn't emotional. That was content. A script. For clicks. There were even draft captions. Yes, captions. For Instagram. For TikTok. For fake apologies. One read. Sometimes the people closest to you are the ones holding you back. I had to choose me. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I'd felt every ounce of that betrayal. And they'd edited it in Google Docs. But the worst part? The videos. Rough footage. Practices. Call talking to my ex. Hidden camera style. Like rehearsals. Try saying it like you're hurt, but empowered. Got it. She nodded. He smirked behind the camera. And I realized in that moment. She wasn't a victim. She was part of it. Maybe not from day one. But eventually, she joined the production. I slammed my laptop shut. Heart racing. Shaking. Not because of what I found. Because of what it meant. My life? The most painful year of my existence? Was entertainment content. A case study in emotional manipulation. You know how people say, don't take it personally. It's just business? This was personal as business. I was the control group. The scapegoat. The punching bag people could root against. They built Kyle's entire rise on the ruins of my dignity. But here's the thing about documents. They have metadata, timestamps, IP addresses, last editors. And guess what? They led somewhere. Somewhere I didn't expect. Because the final document had a name I hadn't heard in years. A name I trusted. A name that made this so much bigger than just Kyle. The document was simple. A timeline. With bullet points, goals, projected narrative beats. At the bottom, edited by kyle.manager@gmail.com. Didn't recognize it. So I ran a password reset. To my surprise, the recovery email flashed on screen. My jaw locked. Brendan.ascendmedia@outlook.com. Brendan. My cousin. My best friend growing up. The one person I trusted in that house of dysfunction. The guy who used to sneak me cookies during family dinners when Kyle got all the attention. He was the one who helped Kyle launch his brand. Did his back-end stuff. I never thought much of it. He called himself a consultant. Turns out, he was the director of the whole damn circus. I found his number and called him. No anger. Just ice. He picked up on the second ring. Hey, he said casually. Been a while. Yeah, I said. Got a minute? Sure. What's up? Silence. Then I asked. How long have you been selling my humiliation as brand strategy? No reaction. No denial. Just a breath. Then, look, it wasn't personal. It was opportunity. That line? That line. It hit harder than anything Kyle ever said. Opportunity. My pain. My breakdown. My silence. An opportunity. Brendan kept talking like that would help. You were always stable. Predictable. That made you the perfect foil. The quiet brother trope. It tested well. Tested well? He was treating me like a goddamn A/B test. You don't get it, he said. Kyle's got presence. Fire. But no direction. You were the anchor. You gave him contrast. I didn't speak. Not because I was speechless. Because I was processing. The betrayal wasn't rage-inducing. It was sobering. Because now I finally understood. Kyle didn't destroy me. They built a system that made him think he could. And Brendan was the architect. He tried to justify it. Look, man, the internet loves a villain and a victim. We just leaned into it. You played the victim so well, without even knowing it. I let that sit. Let him sit in it. Then I said the only thing he didn't expect. I'm not the victim anymore. He laughed nervously. Come on, don't be dramatic. What? You gonna sue us? No, I said calmly. That would be too easy. He hesitated. Then what? I smiled. Because what comes next was already in motion. I didn't go to the police. Didn't go to the press. I went to his clients. Brendan had rebranded himself since the Kyle collapse. Started working with mid-tier influencers, small startups, personal branding for CEOs. All clean. All professional. I sent a simple email to each of them. Subject line. Before you trust Brendan, read this. Attached, screenshots, voice memos, metadata, everything from Project Ascend, every strategic betrayal, every manipulation plan, every branding trick that used real lives as props. By the end of the day, Brendan's calendar was cleared. By the end of the week, he was dropped from 4 contracts. And by Monday morning, he called me 6 times, left 2 voicemails. This is petty, man. You're ruining my career. You had your revenge on Kyle, isn't that enough? But here's the thing. This was never revenge. It was exposure. You don't kill a parasite by yelling at it. You starve it. Brendan lost everything he built off my pain. And me? I felt nothing. Because you don't mourn the downfall of someone who profited from your suffering. You walk away. And don't look back. But just when I thought it was over, I got an envelope. No return address. Inside, a photo. Old. Faded. Me. Kyle. Brendan. A birthday cake between us. We were smiling. On the back, someone had written, "Do you even remember who you were before all this?" I stared at it for a long time. Because the truth? I didn't. But I was about to find out. The email came at 2:17 a.m. No subject. No signature. Just one sentence. Hope you're ready to lose everything too. I stared at the screen. Didn't blink. Then I saw the attachment. A video. Titled, The Real Him. I didn't open it. Not immediately. Because I knew what this was. Kyle had nothing left. No sponsors. No followers. No family support. Brendan was gone. My ex had vanished from social media entirely. He was alone. And desperate. This wasn't an attack. It was a scream. A final, pathetic swing in the dark. But curiosity is a funny thing. So I clicked. It opened with me. Clips he'd saved over years. Old voice notes. Private rants. Footage from our arguments, secretly filmed. Moments I didn't know he'd recorded. One in particular hit me hard. A voicemail I left him at 3 a.m. years ago, after a panic attack. I don't know what's wrong with me, man. I feel broken. Like I'm failing and I can't tell anyone because I'm supposed to be the stable one. He'd save that. To weaponize it. The video cut between my words and ominous music. Cherry-picked texts. Edited audio. Clips out of context. He was painting me as unhinged. Manipulative. Emotionally unstable. A narcissist hiding behind quiet guy branding. And I knew his goal. He wasn't trying to convince the world I was evil. He just wanted one person to believe it. Me. Because that's the final move of a narcissist. When they can't win, they make you doubt yourself. I sat there. Lights off. Face lit by the screen. And something strange happened. I started to smile. Not because it didn't hurt. It did. But because I realized something. This was all he had left. No power. No money. No voice. Just scraps of my lowest moments. And he thought those made him strong. But those were the moments I survived. And that made me unbreakable. I didn't reply. Didn't threaten. Didn't even acknowledge it. I just uploaded something of my own. A blog post. Titled, What Healing Looks Like, Even When It's Ugly. In it, I told the truth. My truth. The panic attacks. The family pressure. The betrayal. The trauma. And how I was still standing. Not because I was perfect, but because I stopped letting people like him define who I was. No names. No blame. Just honesty. And to my surprise, it went viral. Not millions of views viral, but enough. Hundreds of comments from people who'd lived the same story. Brothers. Sisters. Quiet kids turned silent adults. People who were tired of carrying the weight of everyone else's chaos. And for once, I wasn't being watched like a character. I was being heard as a human. 3 days later, I got one last email from Kyle. Enjoy your little audience. They'll turn on you eventually. I archived it without opening, then blocked the address. Because Kyle's story was over, and mine was finally beginning. But before it ends, there's one final chapter. Not revenge, not exposure, not pain. Peace. Real peace. And it didn't come from what I destroyed. It came from what I built after the fire. 6 months passed. No calls. No messages. No drama. At first, it felt eerie. Like waiting for a bomb that never explodes. But then, it felt like freedom. I stopped checking their pages. Stopped looking over my shoulder. Stopped replaying conversations that never gave me answers. And slowly, life got quiet. But not empty. Calm. I got a new job. Fully remote. Small team, zero office politics. Started therapy. Twice a month. First time I didn't lie when the therapist asked, "How are you doing, really?" Got a dog. Her name's Nova. Found her at a shelter. Scar on her nose. Eyes full of fear. Took her 3 weeks to sit next to me without flinching. Took me the same to trust anyone again. We healed together. My apartment is small. No trophies. No awards. Just peace. No more pretending. No more forced smiles at family dinners. No more playing support character in someone else's story. Just me. Existing. Living. Breathing without apology. A few weeks ago, I walked past a bookstore. Saw a flyer taped to the window. Forgiveness isn't about them. It's about releasing yourself. I smiled. Because I finally got it. Forgiveness isn't a conversation. It's a decision. Quiet. Internal. Final. And it doesn't require permission. I never saw Kyle again. Last I heard, he tried rebooting his brand. New name. New platform. Different font. Same lies. But the views weren't the same. Because people feel the truth. And once they see behind the curtain, they never forget what's real. As for my parents, they still send holiday cards. I don't reply. Not out of bitterness. Out of boundaries. Because when someone shows you how little you matter in their narrative, the kindest thing you can do is let them write the rest of their story without you. Sometimes I wonder, what if I hadn't found that folder? What if I'd just forgiven and moved on? But then I remember, closure isn't a door someone else has to close for you. Sometimes you build a new house entirely and lock it from the inside. So if you're reading this, and you feel like the boring one, the background character, the emotional support human in someone else's life, let me say this. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. You're not weak. You're just surrounded by people who are terrified of your clarity. Keep going. Walk away if you have to. You owe no one your peace, but yourself. And if Kyle ever reads this, I hope he finds whatever version of truth he can live with. Because I've already found mine. And I didn't need an apology to do it. Just silence. And the strength to stay in it.